So here's a question for you. How does a massive global organization stay true to its original, kind of countercultural vision after more than 60 years of growth? It is a huge challenge, and today we're going to look at how one mission is fighting to keep its very soul. It all kicked off with this incredible vision. Imagine this. A 20-year-old named Lauren Cunningham sees waves of young people, men and women, crashing over every continent. That was the spark for Youth with a Mission, or YWAM. So the big question is, all these years later, is that founding vision still alive and well? A recent research project decided to find out. Okay, so let's get into the biggest threat here. It's not some big, dramatic crisis. It's this thing called mission drift. You know, it's that slow, quiet erosion of what made you, you in the first place. It's like a silent current pulling an organization off course. And it's the one thing every value-driven organization has to constantly fight against. So, what exactly is this core DNA that's at risk of drifting away? What was so radical about YWAM's beginning that it needs to be protected? It was this. Back in 1960, the idea of sending young people on missions was pretty new. But sending young women into significant roles, that was almost unheard of. YWAM was built on this radical idea that men and women would serve together as equals. That was a foundational value, and it's something you have to consciously, intentionally protect. So where did this revolutionary idea even come from? Well, as it turns out, the blueprint wasn't new at all. It was actually rooted in a much, much older story. Yeah, the design goes all the way back to the very beginning. The idea was that man and woman were created to reflect God's image together. They were given a shared mission. And it's really interesting, the source material points out that it was only after both male and female were created that God looked at everything and said, "This is very good." Now, this is where it gets really fascinating. That word helper in the original Hebrew, it's ezer, and that's a powerful word. It's often used to describe God himself, like a strong, capable ally who comes to the rescue. And it's paired with another word, keneged, which means equal. So the takeaway is that woman wasn't created to serve Adam, but to serve with Adam. A total game changer in perspective. And this blueprint of partnership, it just keeps going. You see it modeled by Jesus himself, who traveled and worked with both men and women. I mean, women were financially backing his ministry, which was absolutely radical for the time. This whole collaborative model was then baked right into the DNA of the early church, leading the Apostle Paul to declare that in Christ, the old divisions are gone. There is neither male nor female. Okay, so you have this incredibly powerful blueprints as the gold standard that led the researcher to ask a really crucial question for YWAM today. Is the mission staying true to this core value? Is the ideal still a reality? To find out, they sent a detailed survey to 88 staff members across 16 different YWAM bases in Northern and Western Europe. And the results that came back, wow. On the surface, they were overwhelmingly positive. Look at this. A massive 96% of people said they either agreed or strongly agreed that men and women are valued equally at their base. I mean, that's an incredible number. You might look at that and think, okay, job done. But when the researchers started digging into the written comments, a much more complex picture started to emerge. People brought up how mothers with young kids often need way more support to stay involved. Some women mentioned feeling this pressure to lead in a more masculine style just to get recognized. And in some places, it was felt that the final call, the ultimate decision-making power, was still mostly held by men. The data showed there were some real challenges hiding just beneath that positive surface. So this is the crucial point, right? What do you do with that kind of data? How do you take those honest, complex insights and actually use them to fight mission drift and make the core of the organization stronger? Well, the research didn't just point out problems, it laid out some clear, actionable steps. First thing, share these findings with leadership and just start talking about it. Then take this research to other parts of the world. After that, create new teaching tools on partnership, specifically for the next generation coming up. And finally, make sure this conversation gets to the international leadership level. to keep inclusivity front and center. And this really illustrates something that goes way beyond just one organization. It doesn't matter if you're a nonprofit, a church, or even a company with a strong culture. Every single organization that's driven by its values has to be intentional, really intentional, about protecting its founding DNA if it wants to stay mission true. Which kind of leaves all of us with a final, pretty provocative question. For any organization that has a soul, a purpose that's bigger than just the bottom line, what does it actually take day in and day out to keep it?